Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
Here we go. Satya taking a big old sip out of her big old jug over there.
Everyone needs a big old water jug.
I mean, do we? What I have to applaud you for is that thing has been with you for quite some time.
It's my best friend.
I know you. How old is that particular jug that you got?
I mean, this has been definitely several years. Probably most of the years that we've been working together.
That's fascinating because we have probably, I mean, it's almost like the easiest gift to give. Like, let me just get you a jug. Let me get you a new whatever, like a new water bottle. And we've accumulated so many, and I don't really use like consistently like a bottle. Like I'm not like that. But I'm just as you took that sip and I'm seeing this, some of these stickers that you've had on there for years. I'm
this
like,
is from our trip to the Instagram headquarters.
Damn, that was at least 5-6 years ago.
I know.
So you've definitely had that for quite some time.
Yeah, I know. Well, and the whole thing is like, I bought this. This is my 40-ounce hydro flask. And I bought this because I started working with my coach, in 2017.
Yes.
And she's like, hey, like, you need to make sure you hit your hydration.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I got to like have water with me at all times to facilitate the hydration.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What, I've never really had a hard time hitting my hydration goals. So I never felt like I needed to have like a, an actual measurable thing that was going to keep me accountable. I've done it a couple times, in the last year. I got a couple jugs or water bottle sent to me that I was like, oh, these are kind of fancy. These are kind of cool. Like I could, I'll make a goal. I'm trying to drink one of these before this time of day. And anytime I like try and focus on hydration, I just am peeing so much.
Well, I do pee so much.
Yeah, you pee a lot too. That's for sure. This is why we only have 30-minute podcast episodes, everyone.
Sometimes I can't even make it through one of those.
Excuse me. Hold on. Oh man. Well, here we are. We're wrapping up on the year.
Yeah.
We're going to look at 2023 and we're going to evaluate some fitness trends that we're ready to say goodbye to.
See ya.
See ya. And maybe while we're talking about them, we can talk about like why they've been, what made them popular in the first place and why they got to go.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear from you if there's one that's sort of swirling in your brain.
Yeah, I know you have a lot of thoughts on more nuanced fitness topics and can probably bring more value to this conversation than I can. But there is sort of a pet peeve of mine on what I see often on my Instagram as someone who tries to keep up with the fitness industry. And I think it's that, and it's a little bit hard to articulate, but I feel like the opportunities for women to strength train have come so far over the years, because it used to be that it was unheard of almost for a woman to be in the free weight section at all. And now it's very popular for women to strength train, get in there, use the free weights, use the barbells. But what I see a lot of is a hyper focus on aesthetics and a certain body type, and almost this implicit assumption that if a woman is in the free weight section or if she's doing fitness on Instagram, it's to look cute or to look a certain way. And that is a trend that I would like to see. I mean, if that's what motivates you, I really have no judgment. And I'm in support of women's strength training for whatever reason gets them in the gym. And so it's not necessarily to say that this trend shouldn't exist at all. But what I'd like to see is less emphasis on the aesthetics part and just more on training examples of women who train to feel good and be healthy and be strong and kick ass.
Yeah. That's so interesting that that is your take right now, because I'm going to go back to like, why was there a need for that in the first place? And I think a big part of it, and I'm very happy that it's been here, and I don't want to see it like go away completely, but I see your point too, and I'll probably speak to this a little bit for myself and on the men's side of what's, you know, dominating this social media. I think that it's taken some time for weight training, strength training, resistance training to get the attention from a female audience of, hey, you can do this and have this look that you've been chasing. Because for too long, and there's still a lot of people that I think fall into this camp of like, I want to look toned, I want to look long and lean. You know, those are two terms that get thrown around. And I've heard that I got to do it this way with light weights, high reps, more like boot camp style stuff. Like, you know, that's the way to achieve it. You know, lifting heavy, doing like heavy strength training will totally bulk me, hulk me the F out, right? And I got to stay away from it. And it's pretty profound to see so many females on, you know, social media showing, actually, this is how I built this physique. This is how I look this way. And you can look this way by lifting something heavy. So to change that narrative is still there needs to be, it still needs to be there. It's like, you can lift. And I, to the same degree, like, I think on the men's side, you know, that is still an important, you know, educational piece that needs to be discussed. However, it's like, you can lift weights to look great, but you know what else feels great when you lift weights? Like, you can feel great. Like, you can feel strong. You can feel empowered. You can feel, capable.
Yeah.
Totally. So I'm on board to see that that narrative that has started to shift continue to evolve past that, to be like, yeah, it's more than just looking a certain way. Although I think the aesthetic portion of it is a big, you know, it's a big hang up for a lot of people. How do I change the look? They're focused on the look. And, you know, if this is the gateway into,
exactly,
you know, lifting, then that's great. And then, okay, how do we take it a step further?
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of touches on one of the things that I've been seeing. It's like 2023 to me on social media is a big resurgence of bodybuilding. And it's like, having come from this CrossFit background where a lot of like the banter and the talk was like, stop doing 3 sets of 10. Like, you know, it's just boring and it doesn't do anything. And it's like, you got to get in and you got to push higher intensity. You got to mix things up. You got to get more varied. You need more variance in your program. Like, CrossFit was a very important stepping, you know, tool and evolution for many people, because it did get them to be like, yeah, you're not really working that hard. Like, you got to work harder. Like, this is how it feels to really work hard. And there were plenty of people that were working hard in bodybuilding routines, doing 3 sets of 10 and pushing themselves, and they didn't need that. But that's like a minority. Most people were going to the gym and just spinning their wheels. Like, why am I not seeing results? Because like the effort wasn't there. And so CrossFit helped evolve that. And then I think people overdid it with that, overdid it with the effort, overdid it with the variance, overdid it with like, oh, then CrossFit just became, or not, I shouldn't say CrossFit, but like, then the fitness culture was just like, let's just get wild and wacky and crazy. You know, let's do these crazy circuits, and let's do this, you know, and it was like, wait a minute, that's not what gave you the foundation of, you know, fitness that you have, or the muscle that you have. Like, it was weight training. It was just resistance training. And this is like why there's this resurgence of like bodybuilding cultures. Like, no, y'all know how to train hard now. Now let's apply it to these sound principles of bodybuilding, and let's just like dial that in. And a lot of that, I've seen a lot of it over the last year to year and a half. And I, as a self-experiment, was like, I'm going to, well, it was not just an experiment to be like, okay, what if I just really refocused on this myself for a period of time? But what if I, use it as a tool to sort of get out of some injuries and, okay, so I dedicated to it, and here I am at the end of a year almost of doing like mostly just bodybuilding, and with my with my high intensity cardio, my mixed modal training, all kind of downplayed to almost nothing, where I'm just like walking and then doing, bodybuilding. And what I'm realizing is that culture has there's just a hyper focus on how does the movement and the training impact the way you look.
Yeah.
And it's just so only it's just one dimension of it.
Yeah.
I think it's important, and what I've learned is that it is really powerful at changing the way you look. And it can be one of the most effective ways to change the way you look for people who are really focused on that at this point in their journey. That is where I'm at in my evolution. I just want to change the look, and they're like, I feel strong enough. I feel capable enough. Like, I just don't like the body I see in the mirror. And so that can be a really great thing that's happened. However, for people who have been in it and they're starting to see the changes, I want to also see like, okay, let's not like swing the pendulum so far back to just like this, my feed being full of just bodybuilders. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't have CrossFitters showing up on my feed anymore. Not that I'm like craving that, but it's like here at Functional Bodybuilding, and what we offer is a hybrid of both styles of training. And I think that there's so much value in like, yeah, I might look my best and I might feel my sharpest and I might, my muscles might get the best results from just following this. But when I inject strength training for a performance with a performance focus, like I just want to get stronger in these lifts, or I want to be able to move my body in, more athletic ways, or I want to, elevate my cardiovascular fitness more, which is not bodybuilding. It's like I want to actually do some hard zone 4, high intensity training to complement what I'm doing with my bodybuilding so that I can actually have a higher VO2 max. I want to improve my fitness markers. Like I want to see more of that come back and be like a blend in the conversation.
Yeah. And also there's a dimension around overall health, well-being, and longevity, because a lot of the content that I see around bodybuilding is more of the traditional bodybuilding sport bias, which is all about any kind of drugs that you can take to enhance yourself. And yeah. I know that that's what the professionals do, but I think that that's also on the rise recreationally.
Sure.
And it's about aesthetics and not necessarily movement quality. And so there can be detrimental effects on joint health and injuries that come up. And so I think what we mean when we say bodybuilding is a little different than what Instagram means when it says bodybuilding. And I think that the difference there is a lot around longevity and how you feel in your body in terms of its function.
No doubt. Yeah. Well, what other things, how about on a nutrition side? Like, is there anything that jumps out to you as, wow, there's been a lot of this in 2023 and maybe it's not serving people as much as it once was?
Yeah. I think that actually there's been positive change that I've seen around nutrition in 2023. So maybe that's something to highlight, which is that I see a lot more acceptance of things like flexible dieting. Mm-hmm. And I see people asking a few more questions than people used to, which is great, because I think that for a long time, there was a trend of this expert said that this diet was best, and so I'm going to go into that camp and the keto camp is better than the paleo camp, and people sort of took sides and took a stake based on a lot of just what was popular. And it was, in all fairness, it's very difficult to make sense of a lot of these things. And there are a lot of conflicting studies out there, and it's hard to get at the root of what really matters when it comes to nutrition. So it's been nice to see that I've witnessed at least more acceptance of, hey, there's more than one way to do this. These are ultimately a few key things that matter, and seeing lots of different fitness professionals and health professionals starting to align on similar themes.
Yeah, it's almost like there's been enough consumer education to now we're at a point where if somebody says like, hey, let's follow this diet, people are just like, red flags go up almost right away. Or maybe I don't have a pulse on what the general population is taking away from hearing that, but I sense more that people are like, yeah, like it's starting to be more and more clear that there's no one diet that makes most sense. There's a set of principles, like we have to accomplish something. We all kind of need to do it slightly differently. You know, can we get more focused on like the commonalities amongst all of these different approaches rather than what makes them all unique and better than the other?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me irritated that there's still people who are, you know, high profile and bashing certain, you know, foods and ways of eating that clearly are providing some value to certain groups of people.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like, I'm ready to see less of that. And at the same time, it's like somebody who's really capable of like, maybe they have a whole business that's built around like, you know, the concept of flexible dieting. Like you can eat whatever you want and you can make it fit within, like we can make any unhealthy food or quote unquote unhealthy food or that you can imagine, we can make it healthy and we can fit it into this, and here's how you do it, and here's this recipe, or here's that recipe, and you know, let's I'm going to show you how to debunk all of this stuff and provide you with all of these ways to make all of these different things. And it served as like an educational tool to like show people like, yeah, you can eat pizza and still have great health and feel good and look good. But it's also like kind of it's gone overboard in a way where I'm like, who the hell has the time to like construct all of these different unique recipes to like turn a pizza into something that you can eat every single day for lunch,
right?
You know, and like, who's got the time to do all of that?
Yeah, all of that. It's
like, I get stressed out just like for one meal a week. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this like, you know, it's like mix Greek yogurt with like a cup of, you know, this flour, and then, you know, knead it gently for the next 20 minutes so that you can create this perfect this dough that you have to like spread so gently over a parchment paper to put in the air fryer to make a pizza crust, and then get the 5 toppings that you don't actually have in your, you know, kitchen,
pantry,
but you have to go and actually order them because they're not everyday foods. They're things that you want to have for this meal. So I got to Instacart that, and then like I go through all the work and I'm like, cool, I've got the 500 calorie personal pan pizza that's got 50 grams of protein on it, and it tastes great. And it was just like a big to-do to make this happen. And fuck it, I'm not doing this again. Like
ordering a pizza.
I'm rather, you know, stick to my high performance foods that I have in my pantry all the time.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, like, order the pizza.
Yeah.
You know, so
exactly.
that's the part that there's nothing against, like, you know, that approach. And I think there are some of those recipes or some of those like cooking hacks that, take the foods that you already have and just spin them up in a more
Ninja Creamy ice cream.
Yeah, Ninja Creamy is one of them for sure. Like that became
we're all about that.
That's a staple, and I think it can be a staple for a lot of people. It's like, how do you turn a protein shake that gets you a little more protein into something delicious that feels like you're having ice cream and it's like an indulgent treat like every day? Oh, yeah. Easy, done. So yeah, that's kind of where I've seen some of the nutrition, content or education going. That I do want to also see I kind of just want people to lay off oatmeal. Fucking Christ.
Leave my oatmeal out of this.
I'm not even eating that much oatmeal these days, I go through phases. Like, I just still, I can appreciate on the one hand where people are coming from, where it's like, oatmeal has been held in this high regard as like, this is the greatest food, breakfast food on the planet. Like if you eat this, like but it's, it's kind of, there's an absence of protein there that people need. And, if people are basically just like eating oatmeal in the morning and they're not getting protein, like they're not necessarily taking the best steps towards their health and nutrition goals. But damn, it's just like, there's other foods that we could kind of, focus
Point the finger at rather than
get angry about
calling oatmeal peasant food.
It's triggering for sure for people. It gets people to pay attention, and then it certainly, there's plenty of people that have had negative responses to eating too many grains in their life. Yeah. That, and oats fall into that category. So it's like, of course, like I've eaten way too many grains before. I've been way over carbed and way over processed carbed and way, like under proteined at phases of my life. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. That feels terrible to anybody. It's like, if you're eating an excess, energy, not enough protein, you're having a lot of like, starches and breads and pastas and oatmeals and things like that, you feel kind of crummy. So someone's like, hey, oatmeal is peasant food. They're like, oh man, that must explain why I feel like garbage. It's like, well, it might not be the oatmeal. It could be like, that you're not getting enough other nutritious foods and protein in your diet, and maybe you're not moving enough, So anyway, I would like to see that one go.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, what else? What else can we talk about?
Okay, I have one more, which is kind of a lifestyle one, which is the biohacking bro trend.
Okay. Yep.
And this one is also, I'll give it a mixed review, because on the plus side, I think it's awesome that there are more.
Says the woman with a brand new sauna that she's using.
Biohacking myself daily now. Yeah, true.
You're a biohacking bro.
Well, okay, so that's why it's mixed, and I think that it's really cool that there are health influencers now that are really impacting the lives of so many people, and that it's trendy to think about things that help your health and overall well-being. So I'm definitely not saying that I wish these trends didn't exist at all, but I will note a few issues that I have with them. One is that they're heavily biased towards studies that are only done on men. So a lot of the research that comes behind these trends is not really inclusive. And the culture, I find, is not always inclusive either. It's very male dominated. And so there are just different conversations, I think, that we'd be having if the conversation were more inclusive of women's experiences. So that's my feminist rant for the day. And the other issue that I have with it is that I think that it doesn't always hit the main movers that would make really big impacts in people's lives. And a lot of times I think people end up hyper focusing on little things like how many minutes they're cold plunging, when in fact they're not moving or eating enough protein in their day at all. and not even thinking about those things. And I get it. And a lot of the reason I have compassion for this situation is that sometimes the main movers are not that sexy to talk about. And it's a lot more fun to talk about like the perfect, amount of red light in your red light therapy device.
Yeah.
So I know that it's hard to frame those conversations in a way that get people really excited and, make it trendy to, walk more and eat more protein. But those are just a couple things that stood out to me about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see how the biohacking community, because I think some people actually see it as like, okay, I'm going to focus on this. This seems like an easier lift to me than going and starting an exercise program or cleaning up my diet or, and will there be a sufficient, like, will they be able to perceive enough change quickly enough where they're like, now I'm inspired to go and do all the other things. Like now I want to go start walking, like, cause we believe the other direction is kind of maybe the way to go. It's like, hey, if you start walking every day, then you're going to feel motivated to start eating better. And then when you start eating better, you're going to be feeling motivated to do this. And then maybe like, down the road, like you're walking, lifting, training, lifting, eating better. Maybe you want to start doing cold plunge, or maybe you want to start hitting the sauna once a week. Like that, those are like add-ons in that direction. But perhaps, someone who's like, hey, I've been hitting sauna and cold for like, a month, and I feel like really clear, and now I want to like go and exercise, and maybe it's going to like be like a little bit of a reverse directionality.
Yeah. And that's why I think with supplements, people are really into supplements. We know that it's a massive, massive industry. And I'm actually not against it because it's almost like a placebo for a time of day when you consciously do something for your health.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah.
I take a glutamine branch chain amino acid supplement every night for bed.
Yeah.
It's not the most, scientifically research proven effective thing for muscle growth, for you name it, a lot of things. But there's enough evidence around glutamine and gut and immune function, and that's something I still kind of keep in mind. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm taking this. It's a nightly routine. I take it with this. I take it with an element pack and a little glycine, and my sleep sups. Tastes good. It's kind of like I look forward to it. Yeah. And it's just it helps. I stack a couple other important habits on top of it.
Yep.
And it just organizes a section of my day. And you don't hear me like, hey, everyone go buy BCAAs and glutamine. This combo is the best. And I don't say that. I focus my energy on, go buy some protein supplements and buy some creatine, because like those are I think really much more impactful for people. But
yeah,
anyway, something I keep in there, even though it's maybe a little bit superfluous.
Yeah. So I'm not against the biohacking. I do some of it myself, but I just think it's important to not have that be the only thing and expect that will fully carry your health and wellness.
Yep, for sure. And then, maybe, I don't know, the last one that comes to mind for me is, it's just a conversation, any conversation that gets started on the internet about like how people are doing exercises like really wrong.
Yeah.
Or like that's not the way to do the thing to get the best, to grow the biggest lats or whatever. I don't know it's like, there's a community that's great for, and there are coaches and some consumers that really appreciate, like, I'm totally in on this thing, and I want to know the details of how to do this thing and execute it the best way possible. But I have even found, as somebody who has a lot of fitness knowledge and training experience, when I try to implement some of those concepts and ideas around when moving this way is going to get you to engage and activate and build a certain muscle or certain, better, it's extremely hard to do. Like, to have the awareness, the body awareness, like the mind muscle connections to even like at a high level execute on this stuff is just so difficult that I can't imagine how hard and useless that information. I mean, I can't imagine how hard and how useless that information is to implement for the average consumer.
Yeah.
And what's hard is with social media, it's not like a bunch of coaches talking in like a forum about like optimal technique and, having arguments with each other in like a closed room. It's like, this is on Instagram, TikTok, and, somebody says something, this is just out there for the world. Now people are like, oh, this is what I should be focused on. I should be focused like an average consumer of health and fitness knowledge who's looking to just create more consistency and see some growth in their own life is like, oh, like, okay, now when I go, I got to like think about, where I'm supposed to pull my elbows on the lat pull down. Like, I got to get hyper focused. Otherwise I'm wasting my time and I'm just, I'm just training my upper back and biceps too much. It's like,
yeah.
Well, is that a problem? Like, is that the big problem? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I those are some big ones for me and you. Yeah. Anything else to add here?
I'm just curious what people out there are seeing, and sometimes we're in our own little bubble. So I love to hear what people are seeing on social media or fitness trends that are impacting them for better or for worse. Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, are there topics that we're, talking about too much that you're like, hey,
yeah, like
we're ready for you to move on from that. That's not really resonating with us. I'm curious about that. I would like to know. This is definitely, I'll remember, Nate maybe and Satya remind me in the intro for this episode. I want to make a call to action before people arrive at the end of this, but just remind them like, hey, please give us your feedback on this. What's something that you've heard a lot of from the general health and fitness community in 2023, or from us that you're like, yeah, we get it, and we're ready to, we want to know more. We want to move past it.
Yep.
We'd love to know that.
Yeah.
Take a little humble medicine here and be like, yep, okay, heard you loud and clear.
Yeah.
I won't talk about that anymore. Okay?
Well, we're always open to feedback, and that helps us make a better show for you all.
For real. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are in the world. I hope you have a great day, and go tell somebody you love them. There's somebody out there that needs to hear it from you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.